Alright, here we are in Adobe After Effects, and the first thing that I will do is import my footage. You can download the same footage with the link in the description if you want to follow along with the exact same footage. So I'll select my files and import these in After Effects. If I double click on the Harry Potter backplate, we'll see that we just have an empty scene here. This is just as a reference for our first shot. So I'm going to import this in a new composition, and then I will drag my teleport in on top of that. I will go to composition settings and just rename this to a main comp so it doesn't take the name from my first footage. Click OK. I will drag the footage from the teleport in and just move it all the way to the end, so it's actually ending right there. So we have an empty space waiting for it, and then I jump in, I teleport in. I'll go to the beginning of this teleport in, and I will duplicate it, right click, time, freeze frame, so we only have this kind of shot, and then I will just drag it forward a little bit. Let's go 10 frames forward and drag it in there. We'll trim it down like so, and actually it can be a little bit shorter than 10 frames because it's quite long already. And now we have a freeze frame of around 8 frames long. I'll then go into my mask tools, zoom in a little bit, and mask myself out. It can be rough, doesn't really matter that much, so let's go. Okay, so I masked myself out, as you can see right here, and of course we're not going to see it because we have the identical background, but if we solo this, we have no background here. So I'm going to unsolo this. Now that we masked ourselves out, I'm going to the puppet tool and I'm going to click on my body on these parts, like so. One in the shoulder and the arms. And the puppet allows us to actually deform our body. So I'm going to put everything in a kind of circular motion. Something like this. I need to drag down my arm here. My head a little bit on this side. And I know this looks kind of funny, but going to get us some nice results as well. So and that's the most important. Maybe this be a little bit more up here. And get something like this. So now we have something looking like this. Maybe we can trim it down a little bit more here on the top side here, because my head looks kind of dumb. Alright, so this looks pretty nice. And then I'm going to the effect blur and sharpen motion blur, or just Gaussian blur or directional blur. Let's take a directional blur and just put it before the puppet tool actually. And we're going to increase it to something like 10. 15 is okay, so we get some blur up front and it's going to be straight, and then our puppet is going to deform it in a circular way. Then we're going to take our selection tool, click on that footage, and actually select your pan behind tool. We're going to move this in kind of the center of our circle here. So if we take the same kind of distance over here, we're going to put it over here. And then what we will do is click R on the keyboard for the rotation, go to the beginning of this layer and also make this a 3D layer. And we're going to move the Z rotation right here. So that's going to rotate our shot here. So I'm going to click on the stopwatch for my Z rotation, go to the end of my frame here. So that's right here. And I'm going to rotate it one time. So it's going to rotate like so. We get something like this. Okay. We want, of course, the end to be similar to where we want to end. So we can drag it a little bit more like so. And we can actually also move it to the side, so we actually form something like this. Maybe I want to drag it like so and then turn into myself. Okay, so right now we turn around and then I kind of jump into my being and then just falling out, something like so. I'm just going to start on the other on another rotation, so we can see that we're almost twice in the rotation. So I'm just going to position this a little bit further as well. So we just turn one time because I think it's a little bit too fast. So now we have something like this. Okay. We're also going to click on enable motion blur for that layer. If you don't see that, just toggle the switches and enable it, and also enable it for the composition. You can always right click composition settings and go to the advanced, and right here you can increase your shutter angle if you want to. That's going to give a little bit more blur right here. So we can click OK, and then we're going to duplicate our teleport. And we're just going to press the W key on our keyboard, and then we want to rotate things a little bit. So maybe one like this. Click on the rotation for the Z and go to the end of the keyframe. So make sure that both of these keyframes are selected while being with your time scrubber on top of one. So it's actually selected. And if we're going to move this, it's also going to offset both of these keyframes. So it's not going to be faster. And now we get something like this here. I'm going to click over here and actually rotate it a little bit more like so we can actually see it in the camera. Then duplicate it once more and maybe offset it like so right here. And also press U on the keyboard and click on Z rotation and go to one of these keyframes, and then also offset it, of course, maybe right over here. And now we have something like this. Okay, so you can play around with these settings. I think one of these still has to change. You can also scale one down, so press S on the keyboard and scale it down so it looks a little bit different. And then duplicate once more, and we're going to rotate it also on the Z here. So I'm going to press the R key again, click on the Z rotation, go to the end and rotate it on the opposite side here. So right over here. And that way we get something like this. Also move it a little bit more to the front. Okay, there we go. So if we're going to play this back, I don't like this one, so I'm going to click on this one and just rotate the X a little bit more. Okay. So we don't get these sharp lines here. And actually we can take all of these and just reposition them to actually fit our composition, so we can actually keep them in the original location. And there we go. Okay. So now we have all of these rotating, and then right at the end we just jump into our original shot, and it looks like we're getting there. We can also click on one of these teleportations, press S on the keyboard, click on this keyframe, move like 3 frames forward or 4, and click on make a new keyframe. Then go to the beginning keyframe and just zero this out so it actually starts out of nothing. And then copy these keyframes, or just select them first, right click, time assistance, easy ease, and then copy and paste them on all of these. And that's going to reveal them right here. So if we're going to do that, it's going to start out of nothing, and then they come together like so. Okay, pretty cool. What you can do as well is right at the end here, where I jump in to add a little bit of a smoke buff. If you have kind of stock footage that gives something like that, we will be releasing a smoke puff pack in the future, but it's not quite ready yet. So if you're interested in that, definitely check our website. It depends on when you're seeing this tutorial, but yeah, that can really help out here with the final result. So to actually give it a shock effect, a little bit of smoke around your character right here. So once you have something like this, we can actually select all of these files and go to layer, pre-compose, and then move all the attributes. I'm going to rename this to teleport comp. And then I'm going to use an effect called Wiggle, which you can actually download on our website at the freebies page. So what I will do is right at the beginning, where we see nothing, we're going to click on these keyframes for the slider, so it's at 0. Then go forward a few frames with the page down button, you can do so, like right over here. And then we're going to increase the amplitude to something like 25 and the frequency maybe to 20. And then move forward until we're completely in the shot, so right over here maybe, and then zero this out. And if we're going to play this back, we're going to get a little bit of a shake. Press U on the keyboard to reveal these keyframes. I'm going to trim these down a little bit more and go back to that shot. Also enable motion blur for your footage, and you're going to get something like this. The amplitude can be something like 15. Right click composition settings, go in advanced and lower your shutter angle a little bit, like so. Also going to lower my frequency to something like 8. And the amplitude is something like 7. It's a little bit too intense. Okay, so it's trial and error, but like 8 and 7 kind of works. Don't overdo it. It has to be subtle, so... Okay, this looks pretty cool. So now we have a little shake on the impact, and that gives it a little bit of better effect. So now we have a shake on the impact, and that's going to sell the shot a little bit better. We can trim these down even more if you want to, so it's actually real sudden that it starts to shake and then it fades out, like so. We can also select these last keyframes, right click, easy keyframe assistance and easy ease right here. And now we have something like this. Alright, we have a pretty cool result. That's how to create a teleportation effect like in Harry Potter. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like and also subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.